Hey friend, Graham here from the recordingrevolution.com, and today let's talk about the best way to record an entire band in your tiny bedroom studio. Okay, many of you are just recording yourselves. You're the singer-songwriter, you're the producer, you're making your own music, and it's a one-man, one-woman show, and you're probably seeing some good success in your home studio. Hopefully you are. If you have a band though, 3, 4, 5 people or more in your band, you might have some equipment and you might be learning how to record, but the question might remain, how do I record my entire band in this little teeny space? And before we go any further, we have to understand that there are two huge limitations to the home studio when it comes to recording an entire band. Limitation number one is you have a lack of space. A real studio has massively beautiful tracking rooms, multiple tracking rooms potentially, but at least one giant tracking room where you can fit the whole band, put them in a circle, or maybe put the vocalist in an ISO booth, or sometimes they put the drummer in an ISO booth. But either way, you've got space to get the whole band together so you can play together, which is ideal. That's the way records were cut originally, is bands playing together. What a concept. But most bedrooms don't have that kind of space. Now, a second limitation that most home studios have is lack of gear. To record a full band requires many inputs. That means multiple mic preamps. You've got multiple microphones on a drum kit, the bass input, vocalist, guitars, strings, keyboard. So you need more mic pre's, you need more channels of conversion, you need more microphones, you need more microphone stands, you need more microphone cables. You get the picture. You just need more of everything, and that costs a lot of money, and most home studios don't have tons and tons of channels, especially when you get started. Like I recommend with a simple $300, $350 studio, you only have 1 or 2 channels. So how do we overcome this problem? You do it by something that's brilliant and it's simple, and it's called overdubbing. All overdubbing is recording one band member at a time and then recording over that track with the next instrument and the next part and the next part, so you build a house, as it were. This is being done all over the place, even in big commercial studios, because sometimes the whole band isn't there, or sometimes people just prefer to record in this fashion. But for us in the home studio, it is most of the time the only way. Now, overdubbing is perfect for the home studio for a lot of very obvious reasons. One is you can use the current gear you have without having to expand to multiple preamps and bigger interfaces and more inputs and more converters. You can use your simple 2-channel interface, 1-channel interface to record your band, because you can use it over and over again. The other benefit is, and this one goes unnoticed, I think, is that you get to focus on each instrument at a time. If you're recording your whole band at once, you have to make sure that the drummer is playing well. You have to pay attention to what she's doing. You have to make sure that the bass player is playing well, make sure that he's doing his part well and connecting with the drummer's kick drum pattern. You have to listen to the vocalist and pay attention to his or her pitch. You're having to pay attention to too many things as a producer, as an engineer, where if you overdub, you can just zero in mentally on one instrument at a time. This is my favorite way to work, because I can make sure that the drum performance captured everything we wanted to in terms of vibe, tempo, the right fills, all that kind of stuff, and just focus on the sound of the drums as well, and then move on to the next instrument. The one question I get is, what order should you record things in? And the simple answer is you can do whatever you want. In fact, records are made lots of different ways these days, since things are taken from studio to studio. Sessions begin with a vocal track, and then things are added after the fact. The beautiful thing about overdubbing, if you do this well, and you do this one thing I'm about to mention, is you can do it in any order you like, but I'm going to tell you my recommended order because, hey, guess what? It's my video. So the most important thing that I always do every time I'm recording is lay down a killer guide track. A guide track is simple. It is a combination of a metronome or click track. We'll talk about that in a second. A basic scratch guitar or keyboard track that plays the chords so you know the arrangement. It might have a drum loop, perhaps. It might have a scratch vocal, ideally, so that the band knows where we are in the song. And then inside your session, inside your DAW, you've got markers, so you can see visually, here comes verse 1, here comes chorus 1, here's the loud bridge, here's the quiet bridge, here's the whatever, the outro, intro. All that is part of a guide track. So I take time to build this before I do any real recording, so that I have a big map to know exactly where I'm going, and so that I can bring in any band member and he or she knows exactly where we are in the song when I feed their headphone mix, and we can get to work. Now, After the guide track, I like to record drums. If I have real drums, I want that to be the first real instrument I record for two reasons. One, it's the thing that's the hardest to record, and I just mentally, if I can get that done, I feel like the rest of the record comes together very easily. Two, and this might be more important, is since we can't all play together, I want us to be so tight, and I want the band to be so tight, I want the drums to be laid down and get that right so that the rest of the band is playing with the drummer. So the bass player hears what the drummer's doing and connects with the drummer. So the guitar player hears what the drummer's doing and connects with the drummer. So the vocalist hears what the drummer's doing and sings with that vibe of the drums. It actually allows the band to sound like you recorded it all together because you're all playing to one anchor, which is the drum performance. And that's so, so important. Now, I mentioned something that some people in this video might hate, and that is a click track. And I am so continually baffled by the attack against click tracks. I've been talking about click tracks since I started this. Click tracks are a way of life. They are a wonderful tool. And yet the moment you mention them, especially on YouTube, you say click track, people want to. And the reason is twofold. It could be because the type of music you play actually changes tempos and is very fluid. And so you're not used to playing with a click track and you don't need it to be really, really locked in step. And in fact, you might be a super tight band. And if you're normally playing together and you can record yourself together, you can get away with not having a click track. But that's going to be the 1% of you. Really, click tracks are hated because people can't play to a click. And I'm going to be honest with you. If you don't like a click track, it's because you're not good at playing to a click. I was not good at playing to a click when I started because it reveals that our timing is not as good as we thought it was. Click tracks are perfect. You don't have to play like a robot, but a click track is perfect. Just like a conductor is setting the tempo for the whole orchestra. You need some point of reference to be accurate, and the click track is the most perfect reference. But if you find yourself behind the click track or pushing the click track, or usually we say it the opposite way, like, oh, the click track is slowing down, the click track is speeding up. What we're realizing is that we're just not as good as we thought we were. We don't have the tightness that we thought we did. You are probably not as tight as a musician as you thought you were if you've never used a click track. And I just got to be honest with you because I want to help you. When I started going into studios in high school, I realized I was not tight as a musician. Recording with a click track in a studio will improve your timing as a musician. And if you want to get better, you will embrace click tracks and love them. If you're going to fight click tracks, it probably, not always, but probably shows that you have a little bit of immaturity and you just don't want to get better. You want to feel like you're already good. But real musicians, real creatives who want to improve will embrace anything that will help make them better. And I'm telling you, my friend, a click track will help make you and your entire band better. That's why bands that go into the studio and make a record go out and tour and are way better live because they've just gotten tighter as a band. The studio does not cover up anything. It reveals all the issues in your band. And that's painful, I get it, but it's good for you long term. So use a click track because it'll make you tighter as a band, make you a better performer and player, and then it will make your editing and mixing life so much easier because it will follow, all your music will be in step with the visual grid in your DAW. It will not be quantized, it will not be robotic, but it will be visually where it should be, which makes copying and pasting a chorus much easier, which makes punching in much easier, which makes editing or just knowing where things are much, much easier. I'm not saying you have to tighten up everything. I don't even really like time stretching and compressing. I've gotten a lot looser on my editing as the years have gone on, but you still want to play to a click track. So you're at least in time with the song, even if you ebb and flow in between those beats or in between those measures, as long as you're kind of coming back to that downbeat, that is what's most important. So click tracks are a huge part of a guide track, and that's why I include them. So in review, the best way that I could tell you to record an entire band in your home studio is to overdub. Record one member at a time. Start with a guide track that includes click, scratch, guitar, and vocal. These are things that you're going to delete later. They're just a point of reference. And then start recording with the drums, and then bass ideally, and then add all the other instruments up to vocals last, which is my favorite way to do it, because that way the vocalist hears the entire band and the emotion of the lyric can all come together and be inspired by the performance of every other band member. Overdubbing allows you to use your simple 2-channel audio interface that you probably already have and use it over and over again. So you don't need to buy more preamps. You don't need to buy a bigger interface. You don't need to buy more microphones. You can use the 1 or 2 microphones you have and use it on everything, including drums. Yes, you can record drums with 1 or 2 microphones. Now, if you don't have the equipment you need, or you're still getting started, or you're still trying to figure out what you need to record your band, I have something for you. It's a little gift I want to give you. It's my home studio gear guide, where I have recommendations for every piece of gear you would need, whether it's a microphone or an audio interface or monitors or headphones, or even which software you use, for multiple budgets, multiple price ranges, depending on how much you can afford to spend. And it's all put together in a simple PDF. Just go to studiogearguide.com. studiogearguide.com and just download it for free. And what you can do is walk through and see all my personal recommendations. Now, these are all pieces of gear that I own, have used before, or have seen work beautifully, or it's a company whose products I own and use and like, so I can recommend their stuff. And you can walk through whatever budget you have, pick what you need. I even have at the end complete studio setups. So if you have nothing and you're like, Graham, I can afford to spend $1,000 on my studio, what would you buy if you were starting over? Well, I tell you, I'd buy this interface, these microphones, this pair of headphones or speakers, etc. It's all there inside my home studio gear guide. Just check it out at studiogearguide.com. It's my gift to you. Thanks for watching the video. Thank you in advance for subscribing to this channel if these videos have helped you. More great content on the way. I'll see you on another video soon.